Persona 5 is not a hard game. No. Even on what the game calls Merciless, I could beat this game blindfolded with no limbs. Seriously, you have so many options that you can pile drive this game into hell itself while actively fighting a war. So the idea of removing your ability to use the game's main mechanic of Persona seemed like a pretty good one. I mean, I love playing games where I feel like one wrong move will send me careening off a cliff and ruin my day. Wait, oh my god, Arsene's weak to ice! Arsene is the first persona you get in Persona 5. He's the thing the game hands you before it trusts you with anything sharper than a spoon, and I'm gonna beat the game with just him. Other people have done Arsene only runs. I checked. They cleared the game and said, yeah, that's good enough, and they moved on with their lives. What they didn't do is ask just how far this rabbit hole actually goes. That's the difference between them and me. That and the particular psychological damage that makes a man look at a completed challenge run and think, yeah, but did they do the Thieves Den though? So today, we find out, can you 100% Persona 5 Royal with only Arsene? And I mean 100%. Every palace, every super boss, the Thieves Den, every achievement this game has ever thought of having, all with the persona that was designed to be thrown in the bin the moment you find something better. Which is immediately, by the way. You find something better immediately. But before we go any further, we should probably define what Arsene only actually means, because I know you're already typing some shit in the comments like, I like spoons. Rule number 1. Joker uses Arsene and Arsene only in combat. Arsene is the free pen at the bank. His whole existence is to make you go, whoa, this guy's fucking awesome, for 5 minutes before the game goes, here's a fairy, dumbass. Everything outside of a fight is fair game. Fusion, the gallows, the electric chair, confidant requests, all of it. And that explicitly includes building other personas just to strip their skills and feed them to Arsene like offerings at a very well-dressed altar. Any persona we make exists solely to feed him or to complete something else. Nobody else sees combat. If it isn't a fight, Arsene don't care. He is the beginning and the end. Rule 2. We'll be playing on Merciless since it's the highest difficulty we can play. Some of you might say, but hard mode is technically harder. And to that I say, cry about it. On Merciless, we have the offensive power of a nuclear warhead and the physical durability of a wet croissant, but I will appease you. I'll be using the customizable Merciless mod by RVR0 over on Game Banana to not only bring the XP and money values back to their original Merciless values from the OG Persona 5, but I'll also be making it so I gain no benefit from hitting shadows with weaknesses or technical hits. And not only that, because I love proving that I'm not a bitch, I've decided to make it even worse by capping my level for every palace. If I do end up having to grind, I'm allowing the use of the team glasses for the XP boost and the C's armband for money. All the other DLC that does something useful though, I'll feed it to Yusuke. Rule 3. Party members are fair game. They have their own personas, and I'm not punishing them for my life choices. Though, nothing I do has ever really stopped Ryuji anyway. I could lock him in a box, mail the box to Antarctica, and he'd still somehow show up to scream, bro, I love being a Phantom Thief. Rule 4. We're starting on New Game Plus, and we are transferring absolutely nothing. The reason this matters is that both fusing Satanael and the super boss fight at the end of Royal are locked behind clearing the game once already. So we need the New Game Plus flag just to have access to either of them. I'm sure this will be a great idea. Persona 5 starts with the absolute hardest vibe check. They make Joker look like the coolest motherfucker in gaming. No wonder Sakurai invited him to smash his balls into Princess Peach. We meet best girl Kasumi, and if you don't agree, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, even if it's wrong. Then, like every other good thief, we get arrested. I get my rights violated in more ways than one. Then we pick our difficulty. We're playing on Merciless, as I mentioned before, and we're naming him Ren because we respect the canon lore in this house, damn it. Then, out of nowhere, in walks this absolutely fine prosecutor to interrogate us. Sai Nijima looks like she was designed in a lab to make men say things they'll regret in a legal setting. My brother in Christ, I will confess to anything. Arson, tax fraud, whatever Joker did, all of it. Take me to April. Just like every Persona protagonist since the popular one, we're moving to a new town. Except this time, we're a menace. We're a convicted criminal. Ren's been shipped off to Tokyo to do his probation, and we're moving in with Sojiro, who makes absolutely no attempt to hide that he would have preferred to be set on fire and hit by a bus than take care of you. And by the end of the game, he's still a man I would die for. We meet the girls who will bully us for the next year, and Igor as we do in every game. Then we enroll in Shujin Academy, which functions exactly like a prison, except the food's probably worse. Day 1, Ren spots this blonde girl on her way to school that makes his eyes stop receiving instructions to his brain. Hey Ren buddy, this might be a legally significant amount of time for somebody on probation. Our first would-be target scoops her up and drives off, and out pops our new human-shaped bestie Ryuji. We take what I will generously call a wrong turn on the way to school and somehow end up in the subconscious of a sex offender, which is not a sentence I expected to type today, but here we are. It takes about 13 seconds before we're beaten and tossed in a cell, which for Ren is probably a new record. Just as we're about to be executed, we awaken to Arsene, our demon-shaped best bud who's going to be my entire personality for the next 60 plus hours. We also pop our first achievement, Spirit of Rebellion. We escape the castle with the help of absolutely not a cat and stumble into school half a day late. Sorry I'm late, Teach. I was busy performing a DIY lobotomy on a creep so I can be best friends with a demonic hallucination. What do you mean that's not an excuse? The next day, we're actually introduced to Kasumi, the only person in Tokyo who cares about the elderly, and we actually make it to school this time. At the end of the day, I look Ryuji dead ass in the eyes and say, bro, I want to go home. I want to sit in my dusty ass attic and eat curry. But does he listen? No. So instead, we're back in Pervert Castle. The Not a Cat starts yapping about manifestations of the heart and teaching us how to swing a knife.
I dropped out of kindergarten.
Right before Ryuji finally snaps and awakens to his persona, and thus we begin our first social link with the loudest man on the planet. Ryuji's confidant is broken. Rank 7 lets you just delete enemies. His kit's also pretty insane, giving us a random 40% physical damage boost. He's loud, he can't stop telling strangers that we're the Phantom Thieves, but he's the best meathead a criminal could ask for. Now, before we talk about what happens inside the castle, we need to talk about what happened on the way there. Because the game decided that before I get to punch the volleyball coach in his face, it was gonna make me sit through some of the best and worst storytelling the game has to offer.
Wasn't that Takamaki?
Rumor has it she's dating Kamoshida.
You know, she seems pretty easy, huh? You think I'd have a chance too?
Come on, dude, you can't go after Kamoshida's bitch.
Kamoshida calls On out, and we all know what for. And On, to her credit, tells him where he can stick that. Then Kamoshida, being the worst human being, doing what the world's worst human being does, decides that instead of taking rejection and being like, damn, okay, he's just gonna go after On's best friend Shiho instead. There's no joke to make here. Shiho attempts suicide, and the scene where On finds out and everything clicks into place about what Kamoshida's been doing this whole time is one of the best pieces of character work in the entire series. It hits like a truck. A truck driven by someone who hates you, but the game earns every second of what comes next because of this moment. Ryuji and I look at each other and come to the very reasonable adult conclusion that we are going to steal this man's desires, and if his heart gives out somewhere in the process, that's just life, isn't it? On ends up following us inside because you can't stop On, and the game forces us to use Pixie to show off that Joker's a special boy who can use multiple personas, and as far as I'm aware, there is no way to bypass this tutorial. So no, you cannot 100% Persona 5 with ONLY Arsene. Video over. Thanks for watching. But you and I can just both pretend that we didn't see anything, right? Right.
Actually, it's not possible because you used Pixie early on. How did you go die? Why didn't you just end the video there?
Moving on, we push through the rest of the palace, and On awakens to her persona in one of the most dramatic and well-directed scenes in the game. Carmen arrives, and Kamoshida's guards learn what fire does to a demon's body, and just like that, we have a full party.
Bitch.
On gets access to sleep. In a run where Arsene's doing all the heavy lifting and my options are limited, that's worth its weight in gold. Confidant's not doing much for us specifically, but she's carrying the early game. We drag Morgana home with us after that, so let's cover him too. Morgana's fine. Bench. We start Takemi's confidant, do our studying, help Sojiro not actively regret every life decision that led him to me living in his attic. He still hates me, but slightly less than yesterday, which is progress. Anyways, I've been a law-abiding citizen for 3 whole minutes, so I think I've earned the right to break into someone's subconscious. Welcome to our first palace, and I gotta say, Kamoshida's palace is actually insane. Imagine being such a predator that your brain builds a castle where you can beat up teenagers and keep the girls underdressed. He really thought he cooked with that. It's giving final boss of the sex offender registry. If this motherfucker even thinks about opening an incognito tab, Chris Hansen's spawning in his kitchen like a Dark Souls boss. Take a seat, Kamoshida. The FBI's in the driveway. Igor decides now is the perfect time to teach me about fusion, and before I can register my level 5 Arsene in the compendium, I'm forced to throw it away like yesterday's trash and rebuy him, which only makes the early game even more annoying. Thanks, Igor. And now here's the first real problem with Arsene only, and it's not a small one. Persona 5 is built around the one more system. You hit an enemy's weakness, they fall over, you get an extra turn, everybody claps. Yay!
Okay.
It's clean, satisfying, and it's the backbone of how the entire combat system works. Arsene, on the other hand, hits things with Aha and praise. That's about it. The enemies, meanwhile, have no such restriction and will remind you of it every single encounter with the energy of someone who's been personally waiting for you to walk into the room just so they can beat your head in for drug money. The saving grace, which is a very thin line, comes when Arsene learns Dream Needle. It applies sleep on an enemy, and if you follow up a sleep status with a physical attack, you get a technical hit, which counts as a knockdown. We only get Dream Needle at level 5 though, so for a while, Joker is basically useless. Hooray! We'll be relying on our teammates to get us through most of this palace, since grinding enemies down for XP isn't really something we can do either, because my ass decided to drop the XP and money to 0.4 times. On top of that, the fact that we don't do extra weakness damage means we need to be extra careful because these enemies do not care about your feelings. Once we do get Dream Needle, our early game flowchart will probably be something like Dream Needle, kick them in the face for a technical hit, and suddenly we have a knockdown without ever having to touch a weakness. It's the combat equivalent of winning fights by tripping someone down the stairs, but a win is a win. Only problem is that a significant chunk of enemies are either immune to sleep, resistant to it, or on enough caffeine to kill your average warehouse employee. For those ones, we ask Arsene to kick things with his pointy little devil feet and hope that God is watching. This of course extends to bosses, so for those, once we hit level 11, we'll hit up the Velvet Room and make sure Arsene gets Tarunda and Rakunda to lower enemy attack and defense. The palace runs us through tutorials for a bit, which means achievements are just falling out of our ass like a piñata. We get I Am Thou, Tactical Teamwork, You Better Hang On, and Let's Blow It Up for our collection. Then Archangel shows up and ruins my afternoon. This fight is almost entirely luck. Here I am kicking an angel in its shins for negative 12 damage and praying he trips over himself long enough for me to survive. The will seeds are another 100% checkbox we need to look out for, which means also having to fight the palace mini-bosses. Kamoshida's palace gives us Mara for this. A giant demon penis! Welcome to the mind of Kazuma Kaneko. Technicals win the fight, which pop the Technician achievement, and I'll try to scrub that one from my memory. Once we reach the treasure, Morgana tells us that we need to send a calling card to make Kamoshida aware that we're going to steal his desires before we can actually steal them. After a long-ass time of my friends pestering me to send it, I decide to go for it, which means Kamoshida is about to catch the worst day of his entire life, and I couldn't feel one minuscule amount of guilt for it.
It's showtime.
Before the boss, I do make sure to get those skills I mentioned earlier onto Arsene, which earns us Deadly Debut for performing our first fusion. The boss himself hits twice per turn, which should be illegal, and in a just world it would be, but Kamoshida's apparently decided that An and Ryuji are going to be his priority targets. I don't know why, but hey, I'm not complaining. I'd help Ryuji, but he still owes me, accounting for interest, $82 from that one time he forgot his wallet at lunch, so he's on his own. Kamoshida tries to use Shiho here to fuck with us, but I'd never hit a woman. Go get her, Ryuji! Now, we're supposed to send one of our teammates here to knock Kamoshida's crown off his head to make the fight easier, which sounds great, except Arsene at this stage is doing 30 damage on a good day. And Dream Needle obviously doesn't work, so that skill can go fuck itself. We're doing this the old-fashioned way. Like men. I'm sorry, Dream Needle, I didn't mean it. You're doing your best. Luckily for me, I have the patience of a saint and testicles the size of planets, so Kamoshida does eventually go down. An spares him because she is a better person than everyone in this room, which means he gets to confess, face his consequences, and continue existing in this timeline. Debatable call, but that's An's cross to bear, not mine. Our first palace down and 1 month into the school year, and I've been in worse spots. I played Persona 3, shot myself in the head, and was in a coma by the end of week 1, so kicking a pervy PE teacher until he cries is nothing. Baby steps. Following beating Kamoshida's ass in a way he most certainly did not enjoy since he was on the receiving end of it, he confesses to everything he did in front of the school. Some of the students pull a "yeah, no shit, Sherlock," and the rest are shocked beyond belief. Pick your poison. Regardless, the Castle of Lust has been seized. The crew decides we should celebrate, and we go for a buffet where Ryuji's gushing about meat exploding in his mouth, and we gently remind him that it is in fact perfectly fine to be gay.
Oh, it's like a meaty explosion in my mouth.
Then we run into this high and mighty ass clown. Soon, motherfucker, soon. Back around school, letting things subside, and Mishima approaches us and pieces together that we are in fact part of the Phantom Thieves. Probably due to Ryuji shouting it through a fucking megaphone every chance he gets. Maybe we should break his other leg. School life goes on, and then Morgana tells us about Mementos, the collective unconscious of society, which is cool and all, but real quick, are we just spacing out in the middle of downtown Tokyo like a bunch of stoners, or did we disappear and everyone just said, dude, I'm late for work, I couldn't care less? We are here for a reason though, and that reason is to find Nakanohara. Morgana turns into a bus, and here's the token Studio Ghibli mention. Going through, we find Nakanohara, and they mention Madarame to us, netting us another achievement, one step at a time. We hit them with the Yeety Feeties and head out, where we're stopped by a kid with glowing yellow eyes, and this confirms my conspiracy theory that Narukami and Margaret soiled the velvet limo when Igor wasn't looking. Anyhow, the kid gives us a star and we put it in our pocket before we 360 and walk away. Makoto somehow also figures out that we're the Phantom Thieves because that book she hides her face with is actually a detective novel, and she isn't as inconspicuous as she thinks she is. Okay, who are we kidding? She's damn good, but we'll circle back. I proved that 99% of gamblers definitely quit before they hit it big because the lottery ticket I forgot about pulls us some easy money. We start talking to the school's appointed therapist, Takuto Maruki, and this is important for getting the royal content and some more SP because we need all the help we can get with our shins shattered by this challenge. It hasn't been bad yet, but we're about to have our skeletons ripped out of our body. Enter Yusuke, the art nerd who I'm pretty sure is either eccentric beyond belief or might have a touch of the tism, and you'll find out why later. For now, he invites us to the art museum where he proves that he is above simping, but wants On to pose for him to paint, because that's a completely and totally normal thing to do when you've met someone and talked to them for approximately 47 seconds. This ends up being used as a way for our crew to scout out Madarame, where we find out the password for the metanav and get into Madarame's palace, which is a big-ass museum. Here we find out that Madarame is actually a big fat phony and has been plagiarizing his students' work where he passes them off as his own. And Mona, the absolute galaxy brain cat that he is, tells us that we need to confront Yusuke about it instead of, I don't know, investigating more of the palace? Which by his own admission is a sign of a distorted heart, by the way. And let's just think for a sec. Yusuke. Yeah, he probably knows this, but Madarame probably also has his belt at the ready if he ever considers saying, but wait, that's my painting. All this to say, Mona, you might be a little dumb. While this goes on, Makoto's getting blackmailed by Principal Kobayakawa, and the conversation probably goes something like, Unga chaka no baga solo Makoto waboba to Phantom Thieves? Meanwhile, keep in mind her sister's the fucking district attorney, and this is within a week or so of the fallout from Kamoshida's scandal. At this point, I'm convinced everyone in the school is chugging industrial-grade rubber cement. The best part of waking up is Elmer's in your cup. We meet with Yusuke so On can model for him while we snoop out this place because Yusuke specifically said no boys allowed, proving that he's bitch made. Well, Ryuji's as stealthy as a gunshot in a hospital and the stakeout goes sideways, to which Yusuke decides to up the ante and say, alright, I'll let you go, but On's gotta get nude. It makes for better art, because blackmailing random people is a recurring theme that ends so well for everyone. You know what? To hell with this. Outside of Madarame's place, we meet Oya, who a lot of people call the worst character in the series, period. But I just don't see it. Okay, her confidant abilities are freeze-dried dog shit, but she's one of the most well-connected people in town, and she gathers a lot of info for us. Mishima tells us that we also gotta go talk to Nakanohara again, where they tell us that Madarame caused one of his students to commit the ultimate self-yeet. And now we're really involved. Game on. But before that, I do a couple of real things and end up getting called a good boy by Takemi. And brother, I am on my knees sweating, barking, god damn. Okay, we sweat like a pig, so we go to the bathhouse and get clean, both raising our charm and bagging one more for our collection. Feel the vapors. Okay, shitted, showered, and shaved, and with enough band-aids to hold together your parents' failing marriage, we go back to the palace and dig our way through until we come across a door we can't open. Because something cognition, Madarame has to see us where he doesn't want us, so On agrees to model for Yusuke and decides that she's going to do the world's most awkward striptease by putting on all her clothes and walking in like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Morgana scopes out the rest of the shack looking for the Room of Mystery, knocks the door open in front of Madarame, and he blows a gasket. We escape back into the palace in the metaverse once more, just seeming to no longer exist in the world. Except we manage to bring in a straggler, Yusuke, who takes the whole "we're inside my teacher's heart" thing in stride and awakens to his persona Goemon. And this means that Mona gets Das Butenstompen out of the immediate party. We decide on calling him Fox and infiltrate the palace for good, because third time's the charm. And at this point, we're taking a stop in the Velvet Jail cell where we conduct a grand experiment and give a few personas the electric chair, which is where Arsene actually starts to become useful. We can now interrogate personas to be turned into skill cards because if a group of teenagers held various firearms at me and said either turn into a deck of cards or stay in the ground, I guess I'd take being an ace of clubs myself. So the palace is pretty normal. If you've played any kind of dungeon crawler, we're laughing. The bosses, though, are cruel and unusual punishment. We go through, get a few careless deaths, it be like that sometimes. We go for the will seeds, and we have our first taste of the fucking. The will seed boss here, Arahabaki, is a massive bitch. He starts with flash bomb, so if he attacks before us, we just chalk up another one on the death counter because we will instantly get fucked in half.
Really strong.
Wow. Oh, we got a turn, so we try to fight back. Cool. He brainjacks the whole party and then drops Mopsio, doing over 1,000 damage to us. Yay! We're capped at level 18 here. We don't have 1,000 HP to share between the 4 of us. So now it's a bit of how many times can I hit the weakness, all out attack, and then do it again. But if he doesn't decide to roll over and play nice, then we get to see how it feels to be force-fed our own teeth. The fight devolves into an RNG fest where we can see how many of our party members can overcome the Arahabaki propaganda and not let our minds get blown by Brainjack Mopsio. That'll be really handy for the Madarame fight, and Yusuke isn't going to... I'm done. I'm done. I'm done! The next day, we wake up, go to school,
Wake up, get up, there.
check the usual wallet, phone, keys, calling card. Time to show that artistic fraud what real creative inspiration looks like.
It's showtime.
We get in, get the treasure, truly the heist of the century, until stage 2 of the fucking drops with the hottest load of bullshit. Madarame's shadow shows up, lets us know that he let Yusuke's mom die so he could claim her painting, the Sayuri, as his own. And fun fact, there was an unfinished scene here that went on and fleshed out Madarame a lot more as a villain character, but it's just not here. So we tried, and holy hell did we try. 15 attempts, maybe more, before I decided that we needed to go do some prep. We had to put a couple more levels on Arsene and some better skills. Kind of a good thing we did though, because we ended up trapping a treasure demon to get both Yusuke the Regent accessory and get ourselves the purpose of a thief, so not all too bad. We confront Madarame one more time and okay, the drywall is not happy with me because the only thing this fight didn't do was tell us to suck start Ryuji's shotgun. Phase 1 is almost a joke. Ryuji and Yusuke are the MVPs. Multi-hit physical attacks make short work of things, not to mention Ryuji getting the 40% physical buff because mother of God was this a saving grace. Ryuji opened up the backpack for the entire team to jump in and we love him for it because phase 2 comes in and that's where everything fell apart.
Shut the fuck up. Know your fucking place, trash.
So, in the fuck this shit phase, the angry paint face is gone, leaving behind the man himself. This geriatric plagiarizing paint by numbers fuckface that splits into a few colors, and doing this Arsene only, challenge isn't even the word anymore. Ordeal, pain, I'd rather have stuck myself in an IRL jigsaw trap than do this. We basically replaced our weaponry with angry words at this point. Arsene right now hits for 30 damage. I've seen better damage numbers from a toddler throwing a juice box. The only way I can realistically do more damage is by chaining baton passes together like I'm trying to spark a fire in a monsoon for the tiniest crumb of bonus DPS. And you know what my efforts garnered? A pixel of Madarame's HP bar gets shaved off like his allergies just gave him a sore throat. Meanwhile, the clones resist physical, so Ryuji and Yusuke are chipping away at a concrete wall with a fucking spoon because I have no other options here. But hey, they're multi-hit, so that's some kind of silver lining, right? No, it's not. Have you ever tried doing that? It's a war of attrition against a man who couldn't draw a straight line without stealing it from an orphan. After more time and more self-hatred than could ever be healthy, we finally win. I will have Vietnam flashbacks of this for a while.
Okay.
Joker standing alone with 18 HP, holding his guts, coughing up ink. Everyone else looks like they wandered into kindergarten arts and crafts, splayed out on the ground covered in funky colors. Cue the victory music! I'm not even happy I won, I'm just relieved it's over. This was a trauma simulator, and my 1,000-yard stare is the result. Madarame, those elemental clones, and Arsene hit the fucking gym because 30 damage isn't shit compared to the mental anguish I just experienced. He let us know that there was another intruder in here, but at this point, just leave me alone. Another midnight summons to the Velvet jail cell where Igor congratulates us and tells us again about another intruder in the metaverse before we got our alarm going off to wake us up for school. Love it when my dreams are about to come to a head and then wake up, asshole. But it's alright, time to rise and grind. We got a job at the beef bowl shop and we gotta punch that clock to bring home the tuna. Going about our life, we start to meet some new people now that we're a little bit more established in town, and we even get into politics with Toranosuke Yoshida, whose confidant will help us gently persuade shadows to be our personas, just without telling him we'll be sending him to Old Sparky as soon as they grab our hand. The next person we meet is a maid because Ryuji found an ad for a cleaning service. I think he's been on the wrong tube site a few too many times, and Mishima comes by to prove that he's a man too, I guess. Well, the maid shows up and they both get cold feet and stick me with the bill, and oh, it's our teacher. Alright, well, we awkwardly have blackmail on each other now, so rock on. She's actually super useful for giving us extra time after we go into the metaverse by massaging us. Not that way, you pervert. This game's rated M, not AO. The school decides that we need to go clean up a park where Best Girl is harassed by some old fucker, so we remember why we're here in the first place and step in again because we didn't learn our lesson the first time around. But she's Best Girl, so it's fine. No debate, by the way. She wins the series, let alone P5 in general. Alright, next day we slap a few more Mementos requests and hit the ripe level of 21, which means we can drink and hold a faith persona for Sumi. We give our wheel seats to Jose, Naraka, Margaret, and he turns them into actually insane accessories, getting us 3 achievements. Talent Thief, Jose's favorite customer, and the Phantom the Phantom P. Then we leave Jose to go find a dark corner of Mementos, which gets us the deviated cognition. Story time. Madarame admits to being a big fat phony, sending the art world into a tizzy because the Museum of Vanity has been repossessed. Yusuke also takes Sayuri to our home sweet home to be our new permanent wall decor, and it does help bring the place together some. And he's homeless because to hell with living with Madarame. I can't exactly blame him, but he stays the night before telling us that he got residence at the school dorms, which is good because I really don't want to share my dusty attic with someone who will keep us up with existential questions. Ryuji calls us up with, "Nico, let's go bowling." Oh, wait, shit, wrong game. But we are going to Kichijoji, probably one of the best additions to Royal. Darts makes our baton pass stronger, billiards will level up our technical hits and break Shadow's knees, and the jazz club will let us put skills on our party members that they don't normally get. There's also the second-hand shop that lets us get rid of junk clothes that we keep finding around the metaverse, which bags us another really nice accessory for turning trash into treasure. Oh, by the way, Ryuji lost another 5,000 yen because we are truly hustlers on a journey. After we get out of school the next day, it happens to start raining like a bitch, but Morgana packed us an umbrella. And what do you know, Sumi forgot hers, so dap me up, cat. You alright. Let's walk Sumi home after school. We get home and the Velvet Twins decide that we need to take them out around Tokyo like Elizabeth did in P3, just more demanding. Once more, the school decides that we need more shit to do, so we get to go to a local TV station and see an interview with Goro Akechi, the best boy. But I also love Robbie Daymond as a voice actor, so you know, a little bias there. This starts his social link as well as a pretty obvious rivalry.
Oh, am I mistaken? I thought I heard something about delicious pancakes.
Back at school, Ryuji has his trusty megaphone and is shouting through it to anyone who will listen that we're the Phantom Thieves, and Makoto, who has been put up to spying on us by Java the Kobayakawa, gets a recording. What's the audio equivalent of being caught in 4K? Makoto then decides that we're small time, and in order to prove to her that we aren't just your average run-of-the-mill thugs, we gotta take on an actual gang. And now that the game is turning into Yakuza Light, we have our next target. Enter Junya Kaneshiro, who is literally a drug-dealing mob boss. Alright, fucking fine, Makoto. We'll look into it. Well, Oya turns out to be useful again, even when she's gotta crawl out of the bathroom to puke. She gets us some information on Kaneshiro. We enter his palace, which is actually just the whole of Shibuya. Yeah, dude's a bit fucked. Well, Makoto doesn't like that we've taken, a few days to investigate, and she decides to kick things into high gear and demands to see him in person.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Well, now Kaneshiro has pictures of all of us delinquents hanging around a bunch of Yakuza dudes, drugs, and alcohol, and of course, that doesn't look good at all, especially to someone who's trying to not attract attention. Anyways, he tells us we need to give him 3 million yen in 3 weeks. Figure it out. Well, time to show Makoto that we're not your average band of thugs, and we drag her into the palace with us. Since Kaneshiro saw us in his area, the UFO that holds his bank lowers a ramp for us to climb aboard, and going inside, Makoto awakens to her persona Johanna and becomes queen. Johanna is a motorcycle, so she's more of a gangster than we are, let's be real here. She also becomes one of the best party members overall. Nuke helps us set up technical hits, and she has good healing. She's a proper character. We come out of the palace because awakening to a persona rocks you 6 ways till Sunday, and Makoto needs a nap, but hey, we'll come back the next day. In terms of the challenge, the bank isn't really all that difficult. We have a good amount of members, skill coverage, and we also get showtime attacks, where we watch a small skit of 2 party members going absolute apeshit and drop a clusterfuck of damage, making the average encounter a joke at best. Side note, banks are usually really boring places. Why did the music have to go so hard? But hey, the twins yell at us and Igor shows us the Velvet Alarm, which can happen randomly after a fight, but it pumps up the effects of Old Sparky, the Gravity Stopper, and Sharp Gravity, which is cool. So we use it to refuse Arsene and make him a little less of a loser. He finally hit the gym. What a guy. We dig through the rest of the palace to make short work of it and send the calling card the next day, letting him know that we aren't paying his bitch ass 3 million yen and that slinging smack on the streets ain't gonna fly.
It's showtime.
Kaneshiro might be the most obnoxious downgrade of a boss from vanilla to royal. He got royally fucked over by the designers.
What's up, yo? Now come get some!
You start by fighting Piggytron, which is a literal tank. It has a metric fuck ton of health and isn't even fun to fight, it's just a slog. And hey, you killed the giant piggy bank? That's wonderful. Now Bloodsucker Kaneshiro comes out and is still too much of a coward to fight like a man. Shadow? Fuck it, he's a fairy now. He calls out 2 bodyguards to stop you from doing any damage to him because like the parasite he is, he's just gonna throw other people's money at the problem. Oh, and while they're chilling trying to tank blows for him, he's sitting in the back lines boring you to sleep with his talk of finances and then hits you so hard with a tax audit, you get sent back to your last save point and have to cut through the pig tank again. This boss isn't hard, it just doesn't respect your time as a player.
This is a joke, right?
Don't fight.
Wake up!
This is a joke, Nate! Shut up, Mona! So the strategy here is to use stuff like searchlights, magic reflect items, and make sure he cannot land a hit on you so his drivel of finance doesn't put you to sleep. Send the big bully to Dreamland or knock him on his ass, and then give Kaneshiro a taste of his own medicine and bore him to sleep so we can deal with the 2 paid actors in front of him. And that makes the fight pretty simple, unless you didn't pray hard enough to RNGesus and it doesn't work and goes tits up, but hey, this one actually made us think instead of feeling like we were slamming our head against the wall until the wall gave up. After beating up his thugs and draining Kaneshiro's wallet, we can deal with Kaneshiro himself. He has the defense of a rotting tomato where a light finger jab will cause him to cave in on himself, so that's the battle. Thanks for the lesson in personal finance, but kindly eat shit. At the end of the fight, he reinforces what Madarame said about someone else screwing around in the metaverse, which now makes another significant count for that. But for now, we grab the briefcase full of money and skedaddle the fuck out of here before the bank slams its doors on us. After we make it home with our goods, we take a look and holy shit, we're rich. I'm dropping out of school and they're fake. The moment we try to use this anywhere, we're getting every law enforcement agency out there to track us down. It's a cool prop to keep around though. Going about our lives, we hear of a church girl who can now be visited, the shogi master Haifumi Togo. We'll come back to that one though. We talk to Kawakami more about the whole maid incident and turns out she's being blackmailed by another family and is consistently sending money to them, hence the second job. And can we just ask for a moment why everyone in Tokyo is being blackmailed in some way? I'm throwing away my white envelopes at this point. Throw me in the crowd. You want some blackmail? Fine. Black envelopes. I think I'm missing the plot. We're gonna take a bit of time away from all this crazy shit though and take Kawakami and Ryuji out for fishing for Tokyo tourists, then it's off to Mementos. Chihaya needs a grand old 100,000 yen to start her confidant because she's a scammer and will just tell us whatever we want to hear. Okay, not actually, the fortune teller thing saves a ton of time in grinding and boosts our social stats so we have more time for more important things like kissing redheaded girls or barking for sexy goth doctors, or I guess meowing in my case since I'm a cat boy. Either way, Kaneshiro confesses to his life of crime and our phone lights up, bank of gluttony cleaned out. Which also earns Makoto's undying trust as she tells Koblabakaya to pound sand because he won't be pounding any bitches anytime soon. Then she saunters out of there. This has been your regularly scheduled story check-in. We start the social link for Haifumi, and did you know that there was another Phantom Thief planned for the team, but because of the game's length and pacing, the character got scrapped and it was repurposed into Haifumi's design. Man, I love the idea of Phantom Thief Haifumi. Oh yeah, we're still in a framed narrative in case you forgot, so now Sai is losing her shit about Makoto joining us, which starts her confidant link. Do you want my testimony or not, Sai? I'm trying to tell a story here. The hacker group Medjed plasters the internet and basically anything with a screen with a challenge, saying that only they can deliver true justice and we ain't shit. They tell us to change their hearts or they'll destroy the Phantom thieves. Which isn't how things work, but explaining this to some unknown internet entity would have the same effect as asking a brick wall how they made the floor taste like the color 7. About this time, we max out Kawakami's links so we can finally get the midnight massages that let us go out after all the metaverse exploring. And she makes a lot of comments about our muscle tone, which is maybe the reason why the screen fades to black during all of these. Speaking of grinding, we get Chihaya's link up to level 3, which lets us get money boost, meaning money in Mementos isn't even a problem anymore. And on top of that, we're about to get pretty damn strong too, so leveling won't even be a problem come soon. So let's give it a spin then. We hop into Mementos and make use of the facilities to upgrade our accessories, collect a few stamps, and have Ryuji look at everything in there and go, all the way to level 30. That's when Alibaba hacks into our phone and offers to yeet Medjed to the undernet if we change Futaba Sakura's heart, which is a weird request considering Alibaba and Futaba are the same person. Usually, palaces are reserved for the royally screwed up, but Futaba isn't a villain, she's just haunted by the trauma of her mother's death. But before we go storming into the palace, I do Sojiro a solid mop the floor for the achievement LeBlanc Buffer. So we enter her palace, which is a desert, and why the hell are we in normal clothes? Well, that gets explained. Basically, she doesn't see us as a threat. We have nothing to rebel against in here, and this palace was by far the easiest one. No deaths, one take. Embrace your inner New Yorker. Bada bang, bada boom, wet a pipe if you like. But in all seriousness, we have all the coverage in the world, we slap weaknesses like the Three Stooges slap the shit out of each other, and the longest part of this palace is just the running back and forth between puzzles, making it more tedious than challenging. When we do finally get to the end of the palace, of course there's a roadblock. Why wouldn't there be? Futaba needs to see us in an area that she considers private to get to the end where the treasure is. So we start the walk home and make a pit stop in the Velvet Jail to unlock the gallows, which is the most important thing in this run because we basically hang meat over Arsene and let him eat to raise those stats and levels. And while we're at it, we throw a few things on him to make him even more badass with Null Ice and Tetrakarn. Considering the majority of our deaths have been ice pick lobotomies with Bufu, we can finally tell those cold bastards to get out of here with their Buful shit. Get it? Bufu bullshit? Like bullshit? Okay, I'm sorry. And now we really do have success built on sacrifice. We hand deliver the calling card, and honestly, this fight is a vacation.
It's showtime.
We've got Tetrakarn, and it turns out the boss is allergic to its own medicine. Barely a scratch as we completely dumpster this thing. We get through the first phase and everyone looks like they're out of breath while we sip a Mai Tai because this may as well be the most tropical vacation we could ever have. Futaba ends up entering her own palace and takes a lesson from Risei's gang from P4 and accepts her shadow to become her persona Necronomicon, which is a spaceship. On top of that, we can also stop listening to Morgana, which makes my ears a little happier from here on out, because even if you do love Morgana, looking cool, Joker, gets really old after the 6th fight, let alone the 600th. For phase 2, we shoot the boss with a ballista, Futaba throws tons of reflect so the boss is blasting itself in the face, and when she doesn't, we do. With one final, "You're not my mom," and a bullet to the face, we swagger out of there because this was absolutely no problem whatsoever. The heist of a pure heart goes down without a hitch, and the Pyramid of Wrath has been plundered. Futaba is able to move on properly, and she makes good on her end of our deal to knock Medjed out as though they were a checker in a game of chess. They didn't belong here anyway. Socializing a bit more, we max out Ryuji and On's confidants, so now they're willing to die for me. Ryuji gets the new persona Satan Taisei, while On gets Hecate. Solid upgrades all around, and some definite boost to our firepower. And thunder power? Futaba has lingering anxiety from the whole ordeal and the team decides to help her out, but she's ultimately a wreck. Same, Futaba, same. Though, I think you have a better computer than I have. Actually, how the hell did Sojiro afford this? Moving on, we help her more with socializing and take her to the beach, and we get to see all the lovely ladies in their best swimsuits, but who can forget Yusuke, who's just vibing with his lobsters. I don't get it, but he's having the time of his life. Regardless, the whole purpose of this was to get Futaba to break out of her shell some, and it's actually a really well put together scene, all things considered. After this, Futaba's available to us as a confidant, which lets us go to Akihabara, where we can play the crane game and catch the achievement Going Against the Crane. It's 9-4, so you know what that means? Yusuke is getting dragged with me to Jazz Gym so he can learn Charge, and it's a night in Kichijoji. With that, the school trip's around the corner, so let's run some errands while we can. I talk to everyone and raise their confidant status to get all their requests for Mementos because no one in this city has a happy story. Everyone's just having their life ruined by some asshat and we gotta take care of them. The vacation is a trip to Hawaii, but only for our class and those who go to our school. So about half of us hold down the fort. There's actually a Big Bang Burger here in Hawaii, and that's where we learn about Okumura foods, which is how we meet Haru. She's the floofy-headed sweetheart that will absolutely place a C4 under your chair and blow you to high hell for the fun of it if you piss her off. Seriously, have you heard some of these Mementos dialogues? Chick's a psychopath.
Why is it that I get a shiver of excitement whenever the shadows plead for their lives?
Well, shit goes sideways back at home as the walking flesh bubble we call a principal has a heart attack after it decides that it's fucking tired of pumping 4 times the amount of blood of your average Japanese citizen. When we get back, Morgana decides that he's not appreciated enough and crashes out at Ryuji for, well, existing really. They never really got along with each other, and honestly, Ryuji didn't deserve this. And I don't think he should have to apologize. Crybaby Cat ends up finding another soul to drag to the metaverse, calling her Beauty Thief. After we chase them around for a little while, we meet her fiance, and honestly, if someone could show this man that dental surgery can be performed with a steel pipe, that would be really swell. This isn't romance. This is a business transaction where he views Haru as literal property. Teeth, pipe, slam, please? Following this though, the crew finally reconciles and Haru officially joins as Noir, which is a massive upgrade from Beauty Thief. Anyhow, onto the more fun stuff, we take Makoto to Jazz Gym so she can learn Concentrate. Then it's yet another trip to Mementos for the sake of confidant requests and a short grind session that lets us hit level 38 so we can finally fuse White Rider. That means we can pick up Gun Amp and Gun Boost for our Sen, which will be so useful in the upcoming palace. Somehow I also forgot to start the confidant link for the Velvet Twins, so we slapped that around for a bit to unlock Lockdown and Multifusion. For doing our first Multifusion, we get Efficient Executioner, and after we throw our Sen in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, we get Intensive Training. Alright, we worked on our Sen for a bit, so now I can work on myself. For maxing out our social stats, finally, we get Pure Perfection. But then it's time for us to blast off again and launch to the Okumura Spaceport. And yes, I get it. A lot of you guys think this palace is the spawn of Satan and should be turned into a lovely pile of ash, but to me, it's never been that bad. Because of the hate though, this palace probably got the most radical changes between vanilla and royal. The puzzles were never really that difficult if you use 7% of your brain power, but they're even easier in royal, so hey. The enemies in this palace might have been problematic, but I mostly just avoided them. Really couldn't be bothered with that, honestly. I ran in, got the will seeds, moved on. Dinner was burning on the stove, you know? Except this palace is still tediously long. We do get character development with Haru properly awakening to her persona Milady, or Milady, I don't know how the fuck you pronounce that, but she's a strong character. Her reflex skills can definitely help in some fights, but because she joins the crew so late in the story, she kinda suffers as a whole. It's not as bad as some later characters, but even so. After getting our infiltration route set, we leave the palace and get Haru to give the calling card to her dad, and alright, I should probably say some Leon Kennedy ass line here to segue into it, like, Okumura spent his entire life looking down on people from that spaceship. Let's show him how it feels to hit the ground. No? Just cut to the calling card.
It's showtime.
This boss is more difficult than Sphinx Wakaba, but not by much. We take a few careless deaths again, but thanks to Arsene rocking the bullied high schooler build, things aren't so bad. The gimmick here is that Okumura will send waves that have specific resistances. On will knock down the first wave, easy enough, but we gotta make sure that Joker has buffs and charge ready so he can rinse things off when necessary. The only wave that doesn't really need that is the nuke wave because Queen handles herself well enough thanks to Concentrate. Our biggest annoyance here though is that we don't have the bonus damage we normally would have thanks to me shutting those off. I don't regret this, you regret this. This matters though because the green enemies are bulky. If we don't have Joker buffed with a charge and at least 2 baton passes before that, it's a wrap for us. We just won't have the DPS to get through this and they'll just respawn with full health. But after that, the next dude doesn't have any resistances and it becomes just a normal fight. Okumura tries to pull a fake Haru out on us that will explode because he's a sick fucker that sees his daughter as nothing but a fall taker, but after she explodes, he sits there for a second thinking and then he just dies because he has like negative defense. He'd probably contract some unknown disease if a mosquito landed on him, let's be real. After that, we bolt out of the palace, all while the other metaverse user executes Okumura's shadow, and if the shadow can't return to the house, then the Kobayakawa thing happens. Turns out that wasn't a heart attack. he was just a corrupt asshole. Makes a lot more sense now though. After leaving the spaceport, we resume normal school life and activities, which results in Sumi getting bullied. So, being the gentleman we are, we take her out and try to cheer her up, where we end up in another palace altogether. In my opinion, this has some of the best music in the game, maybe even the series. Plus, this song holds a really special place for me personally. This is honestly the perfect time for Sumi to join the Phantom Thieves, and it all culminates in her choosing not to. God damn it, Atlas. It would have been cool if she did and could be a part of the crew, but unfortunately, that's just not the case. But hey, the music here. Let me gush again. The piano is so good. We take our friends out to play some darts to become a dart slinger and upgrade our baton pass levels, and then it's time for a lot of story. Okumura holds his press conference where we celebrate at definitely not Disneyland, and in the middle of it all, he drops dead because, well, we saw what happened to his shadow. This is usually known to kill the mood, and we disband and all choose to head home. Since this was a televised thing, a lot of people saw it too, and the good karma that the Phantom Thieves had received up till now is immediately shot and destroyed because now we're seen as murderers. Silver lining though, the spaceport of greed is obliterated. Well, on the bright side, we have been keeping up our studies and we form a most studious disguise. Akechi gets invited to the school festival through the popular vote, and during the festival he shows us that he has pictures of us entering Okumura's palace. So now we're getting blackmailed. Surprise, surprise, more blackmail. Akechi says he was attacked by the one who killed Okumura, so he needs to team up with us so he can discover the truth. So we give him our phone number and we start looking into changing Sai Nijima's heart, and he'll drop this whole ordeal. Or better yet, we can go tell the police we are the Phantom Thieves and get put to death. Alright, fine, we'll help you, begrudgingly. But hey, part of the cultural festival is that we get to absolutely break it down all night with Sumi, so alright, fine. The blackmail, probably worth it. I'm not happy about it, but I'm glad we get to dance with Sumi. And this marked exactly the turning point where she became my favorite character in the series. After the festival, we spend some time with Haru, who's still not super happy about everything that happened, but at least she's doing better. Sojiro does some cleaning around Futaba's room and ends up finding the calling card while we're out, and when we get home, he confronts us about it. This is a really emotional scene, I won't lie. It makes me cry basically every time I see it, just because seeing how much Sojiro now cares for us is like a huge turning point. So he listens contently and he's like, well, shit. I've been harboring a Phantom Thief this whole time, but you know what? I care about you both. You're both my kids. Come here, give Dad a hug. And I'm just like, hell yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I love you too, Sojiro. But from here on out, we start hearing way too much about politics, and not even from no good Tora out there. It's Masayoshi Shido campaigning to become the next prime minister. Oh boy. Well, regardless of all of that, it's time for us to go into our next palace. On our way there, Futaba nerds out about Akechi's phone because he's got the newest model, and then it's off to the casino to do my favorite activity in Persona, gambling! I haven't got to say that one since the Persona 2 videos. DJ, hit everyone's favorite palace theme. Since Akechi is joining us, let's welcome to the crew Crow! Because we all keep our code names in English, even though Futaba pretty much exclusively calls Yusuke Inari. Well, we immediately run into Shadow Sai, which is both the fastest time the shadow has shown up in a palace and the moment I could have drowned in my own saliva because, Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Look, we all thought it. She lets us know the treasure's on the top floor, so like the good boys we are, we start making preparations. We slam our way through Mementos to finish all the requests and pick up a search for power by maxing out one of Jose's cognition changes. We make a quick pit stop over at EY's shop to customize a gun, which gets us professional modification. I actually haven't really mentioned EY the entire game because in general, I don't even use the shop. The Velvet Room just has better options as a whole. Better bullets, better metals, Velvet Johns. Well, you know the Get Down Showdown by now. We race through the palace like normal, avoiding most of the chaff enemies and completing casino games. There's really not much to say anymore, despite me wishing there was. We skip the enemies, one-tap any mini-bosses that come our way, and secure the infiltration route. There's also the token palace ruler needs to see us in their private quarters, so we sit in the audience chamber for a proceeding, letting her see us so we can get deeper into the palace, and yeah. Despite this, Akechi says we should wait till the absolute last day now because this is story-related stuff and we really need the timeline to catch up. So let's go side questing. We proved that P5R is a true JRPG by doing the fishing minigame that is now mandatory in them for Angler's debut, along with completing a ton of social links. We finish up Makoto and Yusuke for the team, and Iwai, Takemi, Oya, Chihaya, Sojiro, Haifumi, and Yoshida. They all make the connection that we're the Phantom Thieves because it only makes sense that when you confide in someone about a personal problem and then it suddenly changes, you don't exactly hide yourself very well. We also get the only chance to clean up Akechi's confidant link, culminating in a 1v1 in Mementos, because he's your average COD player who gets shown up once and starts spamming in the chat, 1v1 me bro. And I would love to tell you we gave him the left-right goodnight, but it's not an easy fight. We actually take a few deaths because he has access to Almighty here, and it takes a decent bit more brain power than these fights usually do. Moving forward, Sumi asks us out on a date, and we agree instantly. Do you think we're too desperate? But then we have one last link to go through, which is with Dr. Maruki, who's due to leave Shujin Academy any day now. And he also figured out that we're the Phantom Thieves. This really is the worst kept secret in the world, I swear. He claims he saw us right after An's awakening in Kamoshida's palace. Was he actually there in a cutscene or? Holy shit, he actually was. Huh. Neat. Well, the day of reckoning has arrived. The calling card is sent to Sai, so let's go all in and put it all on black.
It's showtime.
The boss is another one that got toned down from vanilla. We have to pay a slight amount of attention to how she's cheating, and then the shadow fight really is just as straightforward as it sounds. Though I did highly rely on Haru's Makara card, so Sai wasn't slamming her head into our weaknesses 24/7. But hey, another perfect palace of no deaths. We complete the heist and recreate the opening sequence to the game. Sai shows Joker's phone to Akechi as he enters the station, and Akechi strolls into the interrogation room that is pretty undefended all things considered. He steals the guard's gun, kills him, and paints the table with Ren's brain matter. I won't lie, when I originally watched this scene, I felt genuinely sick. I really thought I messed up somewhere and got the bad ending. Little did old me know as I sat there on the save screen for about 10 minutes, it's a staged suicide. Sai is on our side after hearing our story, and we're back at home in LeBlanc in no time, and this is where the game really sells you. You see, we knew Akechi was a traitor since June because he overheard us chat about pancakes. Except the only one who said anything about that was Morgana.
Oh, am I mistaken? I thought I heard something about delicious pancakes.
And if you haven't been in the metaverse before, Morgana just meows at you. So that's pretty damning as it is. Remember when Futaba was nerding out over Akechi's phone? Well, that was a ploy in secret to install some software for our grand plan. We then made sure our story was convincing enough that Sai took our phone and showed it to Akechi so they could transfer both Akechi and Sai into the metaverse, where a cognitive clone of Joker sat in the interrogation room. Akechi got his desire and blasted us on the forehead, and we disappeared soon after. Thanks to Futaba listening in on Akechi's phone, we also got to overhear who's really behind everything. Remember the guy who got Joker arrested in the first place? Well, we've seen him twice throughout the game. Once at the very start, and once at the buffet. Masayoshi Shido. He is the mastermind behind everything. And with all of these things revealed, the Casino of Jealousy is bankrupted. After bankrupting the casino and faking our deaths, Sumi finally asks to join the Phantom Thieves. And hey, bartender, pour us another shot of Elmer's because we reject her. And now we have to justify our disability here. This is after she helped save us in Sai's palace, mind you, and we tell her, no, it's too dangerous. Yeah, because that stopped every other Persona user. Alright, whatever. Why doesn't she join? Why? It's just, never mind. Well, this is gearing up to be the last palace, so we finish up the handful of social links we have left and work on our Junpei cosplay by hitting the batting cages for Batter Up and also taking care of the 30 home runs for the Thieves Den while we're at it. Alright, a ton of story stuff happens from here, but we're just gonna gloss over all that. In short, we figure out Shido's keyword is ship, so we get in, and I think my party members may need their eyes checked because we sit here for like 40 seconds before realizing, hello, we're moving. Don't you see the giant flooded city all around us? That's the gimmick here. The palace is a yacht. What better way to show someone's wealth than a yacht? As we dig through the yacht of infinite wealth and pretentiousness, we find a few interesting things. Turns out Madarame and Kaneshiro were funding Shido's campaign through the mafia and the counterfeiting, along with people in the palace who hired Akechi to eat spicy pebbles into the shadows of people they didn't like. And you all called me crazy for the wall of red lines and photos and stuff, but I saw through the lies. I saw it all. The rest of the palace is nothing to write home about, however, just long. The one standout point is this one.
Long time no see.
Akechi finds us and he's all like,
Teammates! Friends! To hell with that!
So now we gotta fight him, and yeah, he's the one with the black mask. Go figure. He may be tough to take down in a 1v1, but I mean shit. With our team's strength right now, poor Akechi gets bitched. Oh, also Shido's his dad, so that's cool. But as all tragic villains have to, he redeems himself in the end by saving us and dying. Rest in pieces, Detective Prince 2.0. Eventually, it's time for the calling card, but how do we go about this one? Well, tell mom and dad to put on the news. Actually, don't even bother. We're hijacking this shit now. We're on TV. We hit it big. Let's fucking go.
Yo, what is up, everybody?
We are the ones who you all know as the Phantom Thieves. The recent scandals of public figures. What if that's just an effect? Psychotic breakdowns and mental shutdowns. One man is behind every single instance. The Minister of State for Special Missions, Messiah Shido.
Ain't that right, leader? Yes. Before that happens, we will take this country.
We run in there, go take on Shido, and promptly get bitched ourselves. Yeah, we're kinda underleveled here, so I do spend a bit of time gearing up, and even then, the fight is a rough one. We cycled teammates in and out because Arsene still has some awful defense and should probably have brought a Kevlar vest. He did hit the gym and learn the American art of gun fu, but it's not doing a lot. We actually make good use of Mona this time because he's the only one that can properly hit full team heals. Makoto would normally be my main healer, but because of the level she's stuck at, it's just not an option right now, so fine. You're in, Cat. Now, Shido has 6 phases if you count each form he enters. The first 3 are pretty much free. We just need to keep up our buffs and have our magic users do the big DPS on the first form and our physical users do the DPS on the second form. Except Shido took a page from Senator Armstrong and swallowed a brick of nanomachines because gun skills don't do shit.
I want you to die, nanomachine son.
For the portion after that, if you're trying to fight this without buffs and debuffs, then pick one of the gods in your Persona deck and pray because this is hell. I would have been ruined without them, but Noir does some decent work with a reflex, so it's not hopeless. Definitely the toughest fight since Madarame though, that's for sure. After that, the fight turns into a 1v1 because everyone believes in COD logic apparently, which is honorable sure, but slightly annoying. And it turns out I forgot to bring any heals with me. I didn't even remember to stop by Takemi's place before coming here, so that sucks. So I pulled out the tried and true Moon Knight method of random bullshit go! Dumping out all of our items that raise one stat and drop another and hoping that Shido's almighty attacks miss so I can keep chipping away at him. Luckily, it was barely enough. Kick him in the teeth and steal the treasure. Following the fight, Shido admits defeat and agrees to turn himself in, but in the real world, Shido says, "A life of not being a corrupt piece of shit? Not for me!" So he swallows a pill that induces a temporary death, trying to prevent our efforts from changing his heart. It's intended to crush your own palace so that the Phantom Thieves die inside of it. As his heart dies, the ship starts to disintegrate. We gotta hit feet and bust a move to get out of there with our skin still attached to us, and we don't really have a clear exit. But Ryuji proves that of the team, he is the ultimate badass and lets us get a boat for us all to escape. He starts bum rushing towards the latch to let the escape boat go and gets us all out. As we bring it over to get him though, the larger part of the boat explodes. Rest in peace, Ryuji. You really are the truest homie. Except back in the real world, he's not dead. And all of the girls beat him for scaring the ever-loving shit out of them. Can I just say how out of touch this scene is though? This was probably like the last time for a funny moment, Atlas. Leave my mans alone. While we wait for Shido to confess his sins, I hit Mementos and finally take on the twins. This is one of the big reasons we needed New Game Plus, because doing the entire game twice for this? Nah, I'll be damned. The twins were hard, but this fight was a lot of fun. It just needed a bit of grinding. With the self-imposed challenge I set, I can't be higher than level 75 for the next palace, and this will give us 2 full levels, so we have to stop at 73. This is another fight that Mona and Haru carried hard. I'll be the first to admit I've been hard on them. Mona's still a crybaby cat, and Haru, well, you just joined late, but still. Y'all are actually really good here. I respect it. Mona's heals were perfect, but we do owe a lot of the success that we had in this fight to a bunch of defense downs and spotlights to stop them from targeting our weaknesses. I also took time to switch Arsene to an almighty build because I'm tired of trying to play around weaknesses, especially after Shido just blocked all my damage. While I was at it, I raised his stats thanks to the Velvet Alarm, and we tossed on the passive Vitality of the Tree, which lets us use ambush-only skills in normal combat, meaning that with the Thermopylae skill I tossed on, we get a party-wide heat riser cruiser for only 30 SP. And of course we have Megiddola, which I swapped to Megidolon after the fight because I can't read. And we tag on the concentrate for that sweet 2.5 times damage. Beyond that, Haru uses her accessory to concentrate anyone that she can, On uses her big ass magic stat to hit big PP damage, and Mona pops the heals. Once the rhythm hits, as long as the twins don't crit us, we're grooving.
Enough, inmate. Not bad, inmate.
With the cruiser of pride capsized, Shido confesses his sins, and no one really cares. Society doesn't really change. Everyone's just kind of indifferent and cynical. All right, that's it. We're going to the source. We're getting rid of the metaverse. So we dig deeper and deeper, going from railroad to a mess of flesh, blood, and spines. It's kind of gross looking, but it's really great design. Plus the music here is another one of my favorites. It's just so hauntingly calm. Inside, we find that humanity as a whole has willingly locked themselves in an underground jail, some kind of metaphor for the everyday grind and such. Then the crew discovers the Holy Grail, a treasure fueled by humanity's desire for control, and the thing that the Fate series has had several wars about. The Grail slams us, overpowering us and ruining our day, then fuses reality in Mementos, kind of like what Nyarlathotep did in Persona 2. And since no one is believing in the rumor of the Phantom Thieves, well, we disappear. We wake up in the Velvet Jail and Igor pulls a Benny and tells us the game was rigged from the start. But this isn't Igor, this is someone else entirely, and suspiciously enough, there was an imposter among us the whole time. I'll stop. Caroline and Justine fuse back into Lavenza, and with this newfound strength, we tell the fake Igor to go fuck himself. Before rounding up the crew with a little pep talk. Come on, Ryuji, quit feeling down about yourself. Crack a fucking Red Bull, let's get going. This palace, if you can really call it that, it's more like an add-on to Mementos, and it's really just a straight line. We go up, we fight the Holy Grail again, and this time it transforms into Yaldabaoth. And we easily slap that down to size 2, but because this is a JRPG, we need the stereotypical get your ass handed to you before the power of friendship saves the day. So we get dropped in a cutscene. But the power of friendship is the confidants we made throughout the game, starting with Mishima. And I'm not gonna lie, if someone asked me like, who's your favorite confidant, Mishima would be one of the furthest people from my mind, but every time he yells, "Take him down, Phantom Thieves," I cry, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not ashamed of it. The public belief in us gives us the power and resolve to summon our ultimate persona, Satanael, the form Satan took when he rebelled against God. We raise the universe's biggest deagle and blast a hole in Yaldabaoth, sending him to his own celestial DMV. As a side note, it's really cool that Makoto in Persona 3 gets Jesus as a persona and Joker gets Satan. And with that, Mementos disappears, the supernatural realm is erased, and the world is normal once again. At least for now. With the world back to normal, December 1st rolls around and we're asked to turn ourselves in, but hey, there's Akechi. Wait, you died though. What the hell are you doing here? I won't complain, I'm just happy to not spend time in the slammer. More than we already have in the Velvet Jail anyway. Alright, cool, let's just chill. It's December, chill.
I understand your attempts at humor. I simply do not find them entertaining.
Sorry. January 1st, New Year's, new me, and new bedmate? Yeah, turns out our cat's a human, and the Angry Sphinx is also a human, and Okumura didn't take Akechi's back shots. Something ain't right here. Never mind watching the ghost walk the street. Why isn't Akechi in jail? Okay, this is not okay. So we meet up with him and Kasumi because we're the only ones thinking with more than one brain cell and figure out that something is wrong. The good old Metanav is back and lets us know that there's a new palace in Odaiba. Just chilling in the real world now, I guess. Remember Dr. Maruki, our therapist? Now he's a palace ruler, and he's the source of all the corpses walking around as though they never died in the first place. He's created an ideal reality in which you can live in the infinite now. There's no hardship, no pain, there's just the desires of humanity made not to be terrible. Maruki reveals a lot of lore here. Kasumi isn't actually Kasumi, she's Sumire, living under the assumed identity of her sister after causing her death. Maruki knows and understands our purpose here and encourages us to investigate and explore this reality before we kick his ass, so fine. Our next big thing is to go talk to all of our friends who are now under the spell of this palace's influence and snap them out of it. Unfortunately, that includes breaking the cruel reality of loved ones' deaths. again. We break everyone out of their delusions and rebuild the team, unlocking their 3rd tier personas and getting Awakening of the Phantom Thieves. Sumire, overwhelmed by everything, loses control of her persona and we get to fight her, only for everyone to come to our rescue. After getting her out, Sumi now has 5 more social link levels, and if it wasn't clear, the 3rd semester's pretty much made to be her story. And this is great because between those things, we get to make Sumi fall for us. Persona 3 might not have let us romance the redhead, but Sumi becomes my closest partner. Look how cute this scene is!
Senpai, would you look at me for a moment? Wow, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. You know what? Never mind. Ah! You... What?
Now, even though this reality is supposed to be perfect, we still have Mementos requests to do, and we take a walk through and dropkick the Reaper because we're balling out loud becoming an unsurpassed rebel. Here's another fun addition to the game. Jose is now one of the super bosses, but Haru's Reflect kinda just ruins him, and our normal strats work just fine. We just have a good bit of health to get through. With this completed, there's only a few things left to go now. So we go become your average weeb in Japan and frequent the maid cafe until we get enough stamps to order off the special menu and become the master of Akihabara. Then we achieve enlightenment by going to the temple for a serene experience. Damn, I became a degenerate, then a monk. A whole life lived in 5 minutes. Christ. Before we clean up Maruki's palace, we have the mother of all super bosses to take down, Lavenza. You ever see someone roll a nat 1 on every possible avenue? That's the fight. Murphy's Law and the Monkey's Paw shook hands here. The twins took maybe 3 or 4 tries. It was rough, but it was whatever. Lavenza, please, eat shit. I hope the guy who coded this fight stubbed his toe and stepped on a Lego in the span of 22 seconds because holy unadulterated hell. Let's get into it. This fight is a 4-phase DPS check with gimmicks. Phase 1, choose the opposite element. She's fire, use ice. Terminal montage slap, easy. The second phase, we rely on technical hits, otherwise we get the terminal montage slap. I chose to use Rage here because it lets us baton pass and buff Haru for over 2,000 damage, even without the 3 times damage I modded out of the game for the challenge. The problem here is that sometimes the game just goes nuh-uh and you miss your status item 3 turns in a row and she sends you to the fucking gulag. And then she just decides to talk shit because I don't know, man, she just likes pissing me off. Anyhow, Phase 3. This is the RNG check of the DPS fight. You need to crit every turn or guess what time it is? This is where Sumi is in play because her persona lets you get a better crit rate. But hey, if you do make it through the RNG fuckfest, may God have mercy on you because Lavenza sure the fuck won't. If you don't have Enduring Soul on a persona, then you are probably going to die to her in 6 turns when she drops the pocket nuke that is Megidolon. Thankfully, I was more than prepared for this and it took about 7 or 8 attempts. But it was still like 10 minutes for the first phase alone. I had fun, trust. The Amazon rope and chair combo was not ordered, but it was in my cart. Now we just have to wait for February 3rd where Maruki tries to get us to accept his new reality, even trying to guilt us and telling us Akechi will die. Akechi, however, ain't no bitch and tells him to go fuck himself. We throw him the calling card and tell him to shove his new reality up his ass and moonwalk out of there. We're a badass, yeah!
It's showtime.
Maruki's boss fight actually isn't that bad because, well, we did everything and are basically maxed out. So we fight him, grab the treasure, and oh god damn it, his persona evolved. And it's gigantic. Planetary, if you must. And I have to say, this is my favorite ending in any Atlas game. The whole sequence is just beautifully written. The music is iconic, the set pieces really show the grand scale of the conflict, and Akechi telling me to do my damn job, it's wonderful. Maruki goes down with one final
checkmate.
And we take back the future for finishing the last palace. Going back to the correct reality, the ending concludes just like it did in the original Persona 5, except for one thing, Valentine's Day and White Day with Sumire, so it's better than the original. For watching this ending, we have the chosen path and become the phenomenal Phantom Thief, netting another 100% completion and another hell. Before I close out the video though, while most of the Thieves Den does get done during the run, we are still missing a few awards. Those being We Stand as Equals and Ladies Man for friending everyone and romancing everyone. So that's why this all can't be done in a single run. So I become the ultimate alpha male and cheat on everyone including Sojiro. Nobody's safe. And that'll finish off everything. We were also missing the reward for visiting the gym a bunch, but do you really want to watch me sweat it out in the gym? Don't answer that. Regardless, Persona 5 Arsene only 100% is mission complete. I don't think this challenge was quite a 4, but it didn't feel like a 3 either, so 3.5 on the challenge difficulty health bar. Like the damn video, please, and sub to the channel so we can hit our 100k goal. We'll be doing more Persona stuff in the future and maybe even some mainline SMT challenges if you're into that. Commenting also helps on the channel, and unlike most YouTubers, I actually read and reply. Sometimes I even answer if you're an asshole. Huge thanks as always to Banjo, Anima, and Yo for being the best people ever, and a massive shout out to D-Electric Judas, who was here to help me with scripting this video. Their link will be down in the description, so go check them out. Oh, also, join our Discord and send in your fan art. I don't care if it's bad. I love showing it off. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.